Okay, there's our chat.
Well, we are streaming.
All right.
So we'll just go a little early since we
Yeah,
got
that's
started
fine.
here.
Do you want me to close the door?
Yeah, I should.
Well, welcome in if anybody's here. We just started early, kind of by accident. I said I would post a link, but that's okay. We might not have a link today, which is totally fine. But welcome in
Hello.
if you're here. We'll just kick off. Where should we chit chat?
Yeah.
Oh, had an incident with one of my chickens. He got brutalized by another one of my chickens.
Do you want this?
Yeah. Do you do both?
Wait. Oh, no, you don't have one.
I am up and running.
You look like you're wired. Okay, I'll get over here like
I am
this.
wired. I know. Maybe it really can get in the chat and let us know how our sound is.
This can be really weird because I'm going to be looking at that.
I know.
But that's okay.
That's the camera. And I don't see where, because last time it showed us if anybody was here. I guess we'll just see if anyone's in the chat.
I think it does.
But if you are here and you're watching and you want to hop in the chat with questions or comments or anything, feel free to do that. Today we're going to be talking about a big topic, which is HE double hockey sticks.
You know what would be really good is if I could have it like, I wonder if there's a way like I could have it like right here on the screen.
Oh, my document?
No, no, the topic. Like,
oh, yeah, I'm sure that there is.
I'm not supposed to use the mouse. How come you're so much taller than me? This
it's 'cause
chair
your
is
chair-
so. Oh, sounds
I've
good.
grown.
Good. Thank you.
Been eating. Oh, thank you. Good. Okay,
so
good to know.
We did go a little early there, so we're just hanging out and get started around 5. But if you're
With our actual topic,
if you happen to jump in, just say hi.
Yeah, happy to have you. As you know, or if you don't know, we're just making a little safe community for people who have deconstructed from religion, as we have. Ours was Christianity. And we're just creating a safe little community here where we can talk about that, ask some of the questions, talk about some of the things that are kind of taboo in church that you can't talk about.
Yeah.
And hey, Mike, happy to have you in the chat.
Peace.
We actually have people in the chat now. It's kind of wild, isn't it? I think our first 5, we had nobody. So we were just talking to ourselves, which is okay.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Oh, I like talking to you, Dad.
I remember even, which is funny, when I was at, when I was still, going to church and everything, we did a lot of outreaches and stuff, and you were part of a lot of that.
Yeah.
And some of those new ones, we would go and we didn't know if anybody would be there or not. And we'd start and it'd be like week after week, maybe no one, and then one person, but that's just how things go.
Yeah. This kind of feels the same, but just like the other side of the coin now.
Yeah. But it'll be nice, I think, if people get in the groove of, knowing we're here every week. And because sometimes it's like you don't really have anything to say or any big pressing thing, but it's nice to just know other people are going through the similar kind of things.
Yeah, and in the same boat. I think that's one big thing that I've noticed is a lot of people who are deconstructing do it secretly or privately because they're afraid of stigma or what family and friends or their church community might think. And there's no pressure if you don't feel like going public with it, so to speak. There's no pressure to do that. It's such a personal thing for everybody. It's not something that you have to make a big thing about. It's personal and private for every person, but this way you at least have a place where you know that there's other like-minded people. You're not alone, and other people have been there too. Sometimes that in and of itself can just be nice to know, kind of peaceful.
Exactly.
Thanks.
And at the end of this, when my beloved wife gets home, she's bringing Chipotle. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm so hungry, man.
Oh, I ate a piece of bread, but you should have eaten something before.
I ate nuts.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Did you hand me my water, actually, please?
If you hand me mine over there.
Do the old switcheroo.
Look, you got me this for Christmas.
I know, it's Daddy-o.
Daddy-o.
I know. Isn't that cool?
And that's when and since then I bought my Les Paul.
Yeah, it's very freaking cool. I'm excited for today's topic, actually. I think it's the thing I had the biggest issue overcoming when I started deconstructing was the crippling fear of hell.
Could you please not curse on my live stream? That's what I'll be like. I'm almost that age where I'll be on my front porch. Hey, you kids, get off my front porch.
I'm already at that point.
Wait, they don't ever come up on your front porch. It's get out of
No.
my yard, you
If they're on your
whippersnippers.
porch,
They're
you
probably
might have
beating
bigger
me
issues.
up.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone would beat me up. Wow,
No.
you know, when you start 10 minutes early, like in regular life, 10 minutes seems like it just goes by really quick.
Yeah.
But now, trying to avoid not starting on the topic, 10 minutes seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
Like, what do we talk about?
Yeah. Throw a topic in the chat and we'll jump on it.
How about World War?
No.
No.
We're not a political live stream.
That's true. True that.
Yeah.
How about favorite movie?
Oh, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Second one?
Second favorite? Yeah, the
Is
second
that the
one.
second one?
Uh-huh.
Dude, we watched
With the
a
Battle of
really
Helm's
good
Deep.
movie. Oh, Brittany Runs a Marathon.
We watched it too.
Did you cry?
I was bawling.
Me and
I
Mom were
was
like,
bawling.
it got embarrassing. Like,
That's how I had that kind of cry that you can't really take a breath in between. That was like,
I couldn't even
that.
hide it. And then we
Yep.
didn't know it was,
Oh.
there was an actual person that it was based on. And then they started showing that person. We're like, ah.
I related to.
And then we were both like, we're running a half marathon this
God.
fall.
You
I
think you
can
will?
do it. We're going to try.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just in my first week of getting back in practice for a 5K, which we're doing. And I think you're doing it with us.
Yeah.
In April.
Yes. Yep.
Which I can't believe how not doing anything for a year last year really got me out of shape. And just even running doing the 5K week one got my legs kind of sore and stuff. But
oh, for sure. That makes sense.
But yeah,
is it like the walk right now is the training phase, the walk, run, run?
It's like really weak, but I'm glad it's weak.
That's something.
It's like,
that's how Brittany started too.
That's what I kept picturing.
I was bawling. I think everybody can relate to Brittany a little bit, but I was like, okay, that was hitting me in my heartstrings.
Hey, here is that. I do have that document you sent me.
Oh, sweet.
You want me to pull it up like right here?
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Things you don't want to try when
you're live. That's okay.
Yeah.
We were under a tornado watch this morning.
I know. My mom informed me, so.
Nothing happened though. We thought we heard one because there was this loud sound, kind of like a train. You know how they say that's what it sounds like?
And then it was a train?
I don't know what it was. There was no tornado, so we did live to tell the tale.
It's wild. Like, it just doesn't, maybe just too used to growing up in Ohio. I don't even think about it.
No.
Or if it's really bad, I want to look outside. And
I do too. I want to see. But I think also because we spent some time in Missouri, literally in Tornado Alley. So that was pretty par for the course that there was tornado sirens going off and hiding in the bathroom.
Yep.
Putting mattresses over our heads and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And you were so great because when we lived,
what can I say?
I don't think it was I don't think it was Missouri, but there was a lot of tornadoes. And we would go down the basement, and I was terrified of tornadoes. And so you would bring the encyclopedia with the tea, and you'd show me pictures of tornadoes and read about it and stuff. And it kind of just to make it less mysterious and scary.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was so nice. And then I think that basement got a little bit flooded because that encyclopedia got rain damaged.
You loved that book.
I did. I loved
the tea.
I did because it was giving me my power back from the fear of tornadoes.
I'm like Superman.
You are like Superman.
I'm like a superhero.
Oh, you are. Super Dread. Speaking of things people are afraid of, that's my segue into our topic.
Dad.
No.
You were afraid of me?
No, never.
Look, it looks like we're on an angle.
We are. It's because of where the camera.
Have you ever listened to people that think the earth is flat?
Yeah.
Wait, does anyone that you're closely related to think the earth is flat? I don't want to insult anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the chat. No, just kidding.
I was just shocked. I was listening to it on the way home, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew?
I know. But I think a lot of it comes from religion because of the firmament, right? I thought
I thought most of it did, but I don't know if people get like I don't know if it's just a wormhole kind of thing people get into, and then they man, you've had to what
Rabbit,
a rabbit
a
hole.
wormhole, and then they appear in another dimension.
A wormhole is when rabbits gets worms,
Aw.
and then you go inside the rabbit hole,
don't
which
don't recommend.
no, it's
Unless you're a veterinarian, then that might come up. I thought that
there's
it
not a
was
lot of room in a rabbit hole. Like,
no.
I mean, I tried getting in one. By the time I squeezed past the main rabbit in the hole
This is
and got,
literally a rabbit hole right now.
and got past him,
No.
what?
Is it rabbit trail?
Rabbit.
What's a rabbit hole?
Well, it's what rabbits go live in. Rabbit trail. Okay,
Yeah.
wormhole, rabbit trail.
Which this was, but I think
Wow.
some of the flat earth thing had to do with like the Bible saying go to the four corners of the earth, and that was a literal, like, to spread the gospel, and that was a literal translation was, well, then that must mean there's four corners of the earth because the Bible's infallible. That's one point of view.
It is true. I think all of history, not all of history, but up to a certain point, everybody believed it was flat.
Yeah, sure.
So it was just kind of understood that way, which how would you know if you didn't have planes or people had traveled that far or get up
Put a
into
one
space?
in the chat if you think the earth is flat.
And if we add both of those ones up, we'll get to 0.
I know, exactly.
Okay, we are going to start now. It's 5 o'clock, so
Yay!
now we'll officially start. So we went a little early today. So if you're watching this back in the future, how we do this is we have a topic to talk about, and it's you do not deserve hell is what we're talking about tonight.
Yay.
And different aspects of hell, and really just as a topic, if you're someone that stops by, you ask questions or comment in chat, and we just respond to that, and is how we do that. And you don't have to say anything. You can just check it out and listen and hang out. But if you do want to talk, we would love to, especially for those who are deconstructing from their church background or faith or whatever. It's a rough process if you've been raised in that, and it can be really hard to when you start believing different, and that change of belief begins to happen to you, and then suddenly your whole world in belief system and everything is now changing. It's very difficult. It can be very super isolating.
Yeah.
It can get awkward with family members, with friends, just because which is kind of weird because you're like people's beliefs change all the time. Hopefully, like, I mean, it doesn't have to, but I would imagine as people are learning and reading and researching and diving into new things, that would be part of life, that you would think new things and different things as new information comes up. So
I sure do.
But it does seem weird though, like it's a bigger deal when it's this.
And I think that a big thing is that, and why I'm glad we're doing this, is a lot of people that I talk to that are in the deconstructing process are doing it secretly and completely alone because they're afraid of what their family and friends will think, like you said, and afraid of reactions and changing the way people see you. Because I know even for me, when people find out that I'm an atheist now, it changes the dynamic, and like like they change it from being just like, oh, you're a person that I like, to now I have to save you, I want to save you, I have to pray for you. Like you're not just a human anymore to them, just like a normal person. And so I understand why people want to keep it private, but it stinks because it can be a very isolating feeling to have all these different thoughts and not be able to discuss it or talk about it. So that's what we want to create here, is just a little community where at the very least you can come in and know that there's like-minded people and you're not alone.
Yeah. And I need to really constantly keep in mind too that I for 30 plus years believed, taught all of that, and it just was real to me. Now part of it for me was that is what I had always known from a child, like I was raised Catholic. So it was just heaven, hell, God's real, Satan's real. All of that was just a natural part of life. And then I didn't really follow it. I always talked to God and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then as I got older, definitely went away. But even during my the years where I was most, if you've heard my story, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and so I got into that pretty early. And even through all that, I still talked to God and believed in God, and I had a lot of questions. Obviously, like, where are you? And why don't you, like, where are you? Like,
That's a good
that
one.
was the big question.
That's a good
Like,
question.
I,
Hello.
and I used to do weird
Uh,
things, like,
that's a good
because I
question.
didn't hear him or feel him, so I'd be like, okay, I can remember my parents' house standing out in the driveway. We had a basketball hoop, and and that was my. It was kind of like Crazy Eight Ball, but with God. I'd be like, okay, if I make 3 baskets in a row, that's you saying yes, God,
Yeah.
because I had no, like, I was trying to figure out ways to communicate with him because I wasn't getting it. I wasn't hearing anything
I
or
used to
sensing
at the end
anything.
of long runs when I was a distance runner and I would do like an 8 or 9 when I got my runner's high, there were so many times when I was convinced that was God, like I was feeling God. And I'd always come back from runs like, oh, I feel so close to God. And it was just endorphins from getting a runner's high, but same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I otherwise, like even when I really tried, never really felt anything.
So I derailed my own conversation, which that happens a lot, doesn't it, in my
Oh,
life?
me too. Rabbit hole.
Rabbit trail. So it was when I became a born again evangelical fundamentalist. I really drew that out. Fundamentalist Christian
Suspension.
in my late 20s, and was taught that the Bible is inerrant and this is God's, inerrant word. And like, hey, if you want to know if all this is true, you just dig in here and you're going to be more convinced than you would ever be convinced of anything. And that's
Yeah,
what I started to do. And it had the opposite effect from day one.
it'll do that.
So it was like, just myself seeing contradictions, things that didn't line up, seeing the continual story, because that was such a talking point. I still hear it today that, there's all these books, and it's 1500 years. It's a continual, miraculous, continual story connected together through all this time, culminating in this revelation of Jesus Christ. Except it's not. It's like the
Yeah.
New Testament and the Old Testament are two completely different stories, and like the New Testament had to like kind of borrow things that weren't prophecies from the Old Testament to make the New Testament tie in, and it just doesn't fit. As a matter of fact, the New Testament's an opposite story of what the Old Testament claims is going to happen. So when those things, I don't know or care like how other people justify that in their minds. To me, it was something I just wanted to know: is this true? And when I saw things like that really had conflicts, I would read apologists, which, for those who don't know, those are Christian people who, come up with biblical studies and arguments and of why it does all fit together. And then there's scholarships, biblical scholars are different because it's less of agenda. Are there biblical scholars that have an agenda? Sure. But the majority that go into that field are, devote their lives, get their PhDs to learn the language, the historical context, all that, to try to understand factually what was happening and all
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's where it really started falling apart for me when I was hearing that. And my disbelief kind of just came out of wanting to believe, but
Yeah.
getting the hearing what was laid out before me, it's like it became harder and harder.
And reading the actual book
It was
because
all related to, yeah, the Bible.
yeah, and seeing contradictions and questions that you literally just cannot answer without having to jump through mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
I think that for me that was one that you just have to you have to suspend such belief for so many things and you have to just answer it by saying, "Well, we as people are not supposed to understand."
Yeah. Yeah. In what became harder and harder as I was teaching Bible studies or outreaches, and start realizing, man, this has a lot of weight. Like,
Yeah.
people are really trying to figure these things out, and it became harder and harder for me to say those things. Even the last few years when I was on staff, I remember it became harder and harder when I was asked to give messages, or it was my opportunity to preach on Sunday mornings or whatever, like I had to be very careful what I selected because I could only say what I knew to be true. And that's why my message has even got to be more about, just the real overt, surfacey type things.
Yeah.
Because there was so much I had lost. I couldn't believe anymore. And that goes like to today's point, like the whole idea of hell. I just learned so much about that whole concept and idea because that like drives so many people like with
Mm.
fear and like
Yeah.
I mean I know people that I have family members that are terrified of hell and they've been faithful to their religion their whole life and they're still hoping they get in and it's such and then to learn it was a concept that just developed over time. It wasn't even in the Old Testament. And
That's the wildest thing to me. It wasn't because people say, oh, the New Testament's all full of hope and grace and stuff. And the Old
yeah,
Testament's all
that's where,
hellfire and brimstone. And hell was never even in the Old Testament. Hell didn't come along until Jesus came along.
yeah, God was a little angry in the Old Testament, but he didn't invent hell yet. It
No.
maybe keeping it like that was the big reveal for part two, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
like I didn't realize that. What's wild is because of how it's like post hoc interpreted and added in based on the theology and stuff that's been developed in the New Testament, deeply influenced by Hellenist Greek philosophy, Zoroastrianism, uh, Persian religions. That a lot of those ideas were borrowed directly from that by the Jewish people, to where those thoughts kind of developed and kind of became this new idea. So because of that, then to make it fit, that's where we look back into the Old Testament and it's things like the morning star has fallen. Like everybody just, I was always taught that Satan. Not at all. Like not at all.
Oh,
There's
like when
not,
he got kicked out of heaven.
yeah, there's not
That's
like a
not what that.
biblical scholar that would tie that into uh, Satan in the like Genesis. The very first three books of Genesis, there was Satan in the garden. Not at all.
No, the serpent was not
It's like
Satan.
post hoc put in from that new viewpoint and understanding from this new theology that's revealed in the New Testament. So
But then it's taught like truth. Like people say that
yeah,
that would. And Satan is not even the devil. Satan just means adversary.
yeah,
So Satan being the devil is not even accurate. Satan's just adversary. But the serpent in the garden was never the devil.
no,
But that's what's wild is that that's just taught as fact.
like it would still like people would debate you to their death that that is true, but
Yeah.
it's just not scholarly true. Like they know it's not unless it's an apologist post hoc using the New Testament to read back into that. But you can do that if you're doing that.
Well,
You can make anything say anything. But here's my point: is like to me, hey, I don't even. This is for someone who is people that are struggling with this is in understanding those things to help alleviate some of that fear when you start realizing this was kind of something that like was revealed over time, not by God, but by it was an invented type of theology over time, and but it's just taught like it is was always there and it's just the way it is and we're all really going to go to this eternal torment
yeah.
if we don't believe. And
Yeah. Well,
wow, what a powerful stick,
it's
like
persuasive. I will say that. I know people that like would stay in horrific relationships because of fear of divorce that they would go to hell. So people make real world
oh
decisions
yeah,
because of this existential threat. And if you look at I mean I was told that if I got divorced from my ex-husband who was not a great husband and angry drunk and all that, and I got told by a Christian therapist, not a real therapist. I don't know what that was, like ordained through some
oh
probably
I'm
church
sure it was
certificate
legit.
thing. I don't think it was. But I got told like, well,
I'm the kind one, you're feisty.
I I try not to be.
You know who else is feisty? You get that from mom.
I do. Oh yeah.
Like she, everybody, like
She's
she.
Old Testament. Just kidding. She's not.
Oh, I should probably. I don't know if she'd want me to, but she's so nice,
I know she is. She's
and
like
she
the
doesn't
sweet.
get involved in any of
But
this
she's like me
deconstruction
where
stuff.
she'll
So.
get a sense of righteous indignation, especially if there's like a bully or
Oh
somebody's
yeah,
abusing power. She's like me where that very few things make her mad, but like that will make her
when she gets feisty,
feisty.
I kind of like her.
It's kind of attractive.
I derailed us. Rabbit trail.
I was like rabbit hole. But I think what's interesting is that people use the Old Testament as this kind of standard of like, look how much. Well, first of all, it's kind of weird because they'll say, look how much God changed. He was so mean in the Old Testament. And then Jesus came along and he's nice. Well, that's stupid because Jesus, it also says that there's the Trinity and that Jesus is God and was there the entire time. So the stuff that's happening in the Old Testament is also Jesus. It just is.
Yeah, according to biblical,
According to the Bible.
or I'm sorry, Christian teaching. Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
it, but in the Bible, that's not
You
really
couldn't. It's
because
nowhere in the Bible. Like you couldn't find that,
if you
except Christianity or New Testament looking back at the Old Testament and telling you that's what it meant. But if you just read the Old Testament, that's why Jewish people don't follow Jesus because it's not in there, and it's
oh right, because I think one of the key verses for that was where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," and that's the one they're saying that means Jesus, right?
yeah,
But
yep.
if you're saying the word, I don't.
And so like I didn't understand that. So like it talks about in the beginning um they were over the surface of the waters in Genesis and it talks about multiple people. I didn't realize like there's all kinds of um scholarly research that talks about this heavenly court that
Yeah,
I had no idea. So it's like it was one of my big challenges with the Bible the entire time I was a believer, and this was a 30-year struggle. Um, I taught it, believed it, wanted so badly for it to be true. I was so excited when I was told that this is God's word and revelation, and here's what you need to know. I'm like,
yeah.
well, make my
Sign
life
me
easy.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, dude, who wouldn't want that? You've got the creator's manual here, and then just to find out how complex it is and how many different in Christian religions get exact opposite things from reading the same thing. It's
yeah,
like that's some of the things that started to erode my belief is like, well, there is no way a God, or would he? But it was very hard for me to believe that a God who was communicating the most vital information that a human could have about how to find eternal life and avoid this torment, separation, whatever it is, and it could be that confused. To even today, if you listen to Christians debating about hell, some say it's separation, some say it's annihilation, some say it's universalism, some say it's eternal conscious torment, because you can get all of that from the book.
you can.
And that was one of the things that really started to make me think, like, how can I possibly fear and believe this is real when people came and decide what it is, and they decide opposite things
Yeah,
in the same umbrella of Christianity, and everybody's convinced they're right and the other ones are wrong, and they'll let you know that too, you know. So that should
they'll
like
let you know. Yeah,
give a little piece, like maybe this isn't, well, it's not as crystal clear as people make it seem to
absolutely.
be, particularly in fundamentalist circles. Like
Yeah,
I was in, it's just communicated as if this is just so crystal clear,
yeah, it's not.
and in the whole idea that a, a, a belief, like because you can't believe in something, you can't really make yourself believe. You know, you see the evidence, you hear it. I don't know what that mechanism is, but people either find it believable or not.
Well, that's what we talked about last week is
Yeah.
that belief's not a choice. You can't force yourself to believe something if you do not
And like this belief in
see it to
me,
be true.
I think about this all the time, and I still would love for it to be true, except for some of the things I've learned that are the characteristics of that God. There, I
Yeah.
would, someone would really have to make those things make sense to me. But I would love that, eternal loving Father who has, but um,
That part, yes. But an
but a
eternal
lot
loving father would not create an eternity of painful punishment for his
in
children,
some of those
period, full
things.
stop. He wouldn't. That, in and of itself, I think, is one of the biggest contradictions.
Yeah,
I have a great display of a loving father right here. I can't, there's like nothing that I could do that you would be like, well, I think eternal torture is the only solution for this.
not even
That's insanity.
like who would even do like anything beyond reasonable discipline, and not only that, I'm a father. It gets past a certain point where the children are the adults. You're not even disciplining them anymore. You're not
Well,
like they're adults and
yeah.
they're making their own decisions and they're like
Yeah.
it's just weird. And like I was really thinking about this whole hell thing because it all starts with this idea that we're born with
Original sin.
original sin. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was like looking at that. Now, I don't know the status of Adam and Eve, but in the garden, like I don't know if they were what level their minds were and all of that because they seem like adults and everything, but it is evident, it is from the text itself, they did not have the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
And after they ate the fruit, they did have the knowledge of good and evil. Like if disobedience is not good and it's evil, they could not have known disobeying God was evil.
They wouldn't have had the concept of what disobedience even was. It was literally a setup.
And then and then when I've heard the explanations, well, they knew disobeying God was bad, but not if they did not have the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
It's what the word says. And after they eat it, suddenly they now know good and evil like God does. He says like we do.
Right.
So they didn't have that knowledge before, but more so than that, like things get really screwy then. So now this sin, everybody's going to get sin. All of a sudden, like these animals who didn't kill each other, like lions who were eating grass, suddenly all their organs change so they can eat meat and they start. It's just like the whole world goes corrupt because of this one decision. Like that's, but not only that, then when it gets really bad and now people are just crazy, I'm going to wipe them all out and flood them. But,
Yeah.
but, the but the punishment for disobedience was sin, a sinful nature. So you that was given to all these people. Now they all do all this sinful stuff, and I'm going to kill them. It's like I
Bible God was cruel. Like
or it just doesn't.
cruel.
It's things like that that just do not make sense. And hey, I really applaud anyone that can say his ways are above my ways. It doesn't. Awesome. That's a step of faith or belief I just can't muster.
No.
I can't help but think, is that man trying to explain how the world started and this, how God interacted with man? Or is that really how the most powerful being? I don't know if you've seen pictures of like from the Hubble telescope.
Of what?
From the Hubble telescope, now that it's got even further, like how
No.
massive and deep the universe is and how many.
No. That's
The
cool
one
though.
who supposedly said all of that, this was his plan, like to punish people with sin, and then they sin, so now I'm going to drown you because you're doing what I punished you with or
That's a
gave you with.
really good point.
And then they all drowned, and I'm going to start over with Noah, and in a short time, it's all happening again.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I think it was people trying to explain and make sense of life, eternity, where we come from, all of that, and including hell. Like,
Which interestingly enough, there's no mention of hell at all in the Old Testament, and the translations that say hell. I think KJV was the big one that started using hell instead of, how do you say it? Sheol,
I don't, yeah, something like that.
Sheol, Sheol, which just means like grave or pit or abode of the dead. So whole of Old Testament is either referring to that or
Yeah, it's where
Hades or
everybody went.
Tartarus, and it's where everyone went regardless. So in the Old Testament, there's no hell. That later got translated out. I think it came from Okay, yeah, Jesus uses hell later, but it was just like a gloomy afterlife where everybody went, so there was not an eternal punishment. So that whole concept in the Old Testament doesn't even exist. That like you choose the wrong way and you get tortured for all of eternity.
Or that you're born with this sin
Yeah.
and you're going to have to pay for it unless someone pays that price. I mean, that was completely developed post hoc to make Jesus fit. Because the Old
Yeah.
Testament, which I didn't realize,
No, I
Hebrew Bibles don't end. I think they end with Second Chronicles,
Oh.
which leaves with the hope of the restoration and everything. Um, and
Yes.
yeah,
Brian said it's crazy how the story of Noah is portrayed as a feel good kid story, but in reality, it's pretty dark. I'm telling you, if you've ever seen something drown, it is one of the most horrifying things to witness, like, period. And I'm with you. It's really bizarre to think a loving father would drown all of his creations. And we were talking about that before too, how there's like little toys of Noah's Ark and stuff. And
I,
it's like, oh, look at the 2 by 2 animals. But the concept of that story is really dark.
dude, I should get a picture of when we went to the Ark,
The
the
museum.
museum.
Yeah.
Hey, that is something to see. Like,
Yeah.
especially it was fun because I was already in this mode, and someone else that went with us was also in the same mindset. And then another person was was still a believer and all that. But it was a blast because, I mean, there are people feeding dinosaurs in cages on the ark. Didn't know. Who knew? But
Can
it
you
was
imagine?
it was awesome. Like, it was so fun to see all that stuff and to see how it was explained in like this whole device of how the food traveled through and they got rid of the poop. it
Oh,
was it,
really?
it
They
was
had
like
a
they
feces
really tried to
elimination
think it
station.
through. But what the part I remember the most is there's this picture of this woman holding this, like it's a big mural as you walk through, talking about sin and how the garden fell, and or the fall in the garden leading up to all of that, the flood. There was this mural and it shows these waves crashing and people just like climbing for higher ground, and there's a woman standing there holding a baby, and I'm like, so I had a picture taken like by it, like, I mean, I just don't know what my response is supposed to be to that. Like, yeah, I get that woman and her baby.
I,
I don't know what they're doing, but I mean, get them.
Sinners.
Like,
Which
it
also,
was horrifying.
well,
Like a drowning would be horrible. Like,
I can't let, like, this is like, if I see a bee has fallen into our pond out front and he's struggling, I can't watch that without netting him out. Like, there's something physically in me that's like, I can't let that thing drown. It does not try. It's one of two things. Like, it's all written and made up as a way to, like you have said, like there were many religions made up that way. And a flood is a thing that you find in a lot of religions, or the like, if that is really the God of the Old Testament, yikes.
yeah,
Because that's a pretty vindictive, and he would have had to create the serpent. So that's a really interesting thing too. If he's all powerful, he would have had to create the serpent in the garden in the first place.
yeah, yeah.
So it kind of feels like a setup. It was like, hey, I'm going to give you these choices with no concept of what's right and wrong, tempt you with the serpent, and also make everybody hate snakes for like all of eternity, which snakes are awesome.
They got no legs.
They're, yeah.
They're legless.
But it's kind of a bizarre concept. I just found it really interesting when I really recently learned. And thank you, Really Weird said it's pronounced Sheol. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Uh, is the concept, which honestly sounds a lot more fair, that you would go to kind of just a gloomy, blank, boring afterlife. And it makes more sense. I don't think that that's true, but it does make more sense than a loving. But then again, I would say the God of the Bible doesn't ever come across as a loving God.
To like certain people, but yeah, I agree, and that's why I think it had, that was the revisions, or not like the new story. And I shouldn't say, listen, the last thing, I'm talking as if this is a group of people that are all in the same boat. Not this.
Uh-oh.
Oh, because I wouldn't like I do not would never want to debate people or try to talk someone out of it, or even like,
No.
man, if you've really looked at it or never looked at any of it, I don't care if it works for you and it makes sense. For me, I was just told like this is, you can know that this is true, and I took people at their word and really dug in. And unfortunately for me, it was just became harder and harder to believe.
Yeah.
And I still like, you're pretty. You don't think there's anything spiritual?
No, I'm actually a pretty spiritual person.
Oh,
I don't think that there is a God, but I would be more of the person that would be open to a concept of a soul. I can't prove it and I would never argue anybody on that, but I'm definitely more of a spiritual person. If there is a God, I think it's probably like a God that created the earth. He must be a pretty indifferent, or she or they must be a pretty
yeah.
indifferent
It
God,
seems like
because
it.
that just makes more sense to me. But I honestly don't think that there is a God, but I can't prove it either.
Yeah.
But I would be
I
more of a
know, and it
spiritual
was really
person.
interesting too. Like, as we, because we just recently let people know via like publicly, and obviously doing this, and then you posted on
Facebook.
your Facebook. So you're more, people are more and more knowing, because to me it's, I don't think of it as something to be ashamed of or embarrassed. People like have to think and look at the important things in their life and make decisions. That's what hopefully we all, everyone's doing that. And this has always been, spirituality and Christianity has always been the most important, but it was always so important to me that it's true,
Mm-hmm.
that it's true. And on the faith part, it, that never worked for me, as if to, well, where you have these, you have these questions about things. Who are you? Your mind isn't God's mind. It's the only mind I've got, and
That's a really fair point.
it's the only this is it for me. So I can't help what I think. And when I don't intentionally try to do that. When I used to hear things in church and I'd hear it from the platform, I wasn't, I was there to go to church and listen, and then I would hear things and I'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then I'd go look it up and I'd find out, well, it either did or didn't.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think happens to a lot of people, is just belief is something that changes as they explore evidence. And I'm
Yes.
super open to evidence that this is all real. Like I would, again, I would love that. But
I think a danger is, and that probably people who are in the deconstruction process can relate to, is that when people talk to you as though your deconstructing had something to do with you not trying. I know, at least for
yeah,
myself personally, I tried really hard for years and years and years and years to have a connection with God. I read the Bible a lot. I looked at apologetics, and honestly, to the detriment of the religion, it was the more I dug into the actual text and then the actual veracity of the history of the text, that things started to unravel, and that the things you were being taught in church and at Sunday school didn't necessarily line up with what the Bible said, or omitted a lot of things that might have been key. And I think if it had been presented in a different way too, instead of, hey, this is just 100% fact, if it was, hey, this is the interpretation that we
inerrant.
have
Yeah,
come to understand, I think that that might have helped a lot to have a, but when it's just taught as this is black and white and this is as true as the sky is above you,
yeah,
that's where, because if it cannot be proven, and if it's like there's no actual physical evidence, or there's contradictions and no one would talk about the contradictions. And it was funny because it was kind of like that George Orwell book where 2 + 2 = 5. It would say there's no contradictions, and on one hand it would say God is all love, and then it would say God killed all the Egyptian firstborn sons. Those two things cannot be true. Or God says do not murder, God punishes people by having them cannibalize their children. Those two things cannot be true, and no one would ever give an actual direct satisfying answer, or even just say, holy cow, yeah, I see why you might come
yeah.
away
That
being
was always my
confused.
challenge.
Yeah,
Like knowing,
yeah.
it seemed like it was hard. like I was just out there for even thinking those things. To
Mhm.
me, it seemed like it just seems so obvious, and
Yeah.
and that is really fascinating to me, which I think is really cool to see how different people can look at things and come away completely different. You know,
Yeah, it is to me too. And I think the only
and not.
time,
I don't know if they're trying to. You know, it's like.
I don't know either.
But it does go back to my thought, like, man, then how can you possibly be judged eternally on, I looked at this stuff sincerely and sincerely wanted to understand it, but I just it's no longer believable to me. How could I possibly? That's not even a decision I'm making. It's just something that happened in the process of trying to believe it. So, and I know that's true for a lot of people that
Absolutely.
happens,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
it could be hurt. You know,
Yeah.
like I think you know, something, multiple bad things or something bad happened, and a lot of times that's like played off as that's not a very good reason to step away from church or to start to question the things. I think it's a really good
I think
reason,
it's a
like,
really legitimate
because
reason.
it is supposed to be something different than any place else in life, and
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's not fair, or I'll say this: I think it's kind of hurtful of people to be delegitimized if you leave church because you were hurt by people in the church, and people go, "Oh, well, those are people. That's not God," and they kind of treat it as though you did something wrong by walking away. And I would say that's not the case at all. The Bible literally says that His Holy Spirit lives inside of Christians, and by that logic, you would think that Christians would behave at a higher level. And so it is legitimate to be hurt by people in the church and to not want to go. In fact, that's healthy. If people are doing harmful things to you anywhere and you set up boundaries, that's actually a healthy thing to do. And that
yeah,
should be encouraged. So good for
I
you if
think,
you've done that. Yeah, that's a healthy thing in any group, in a job, in a relationship, in a group of friends. If people are mistreating you and you leave, that's a good, healthy thing to do for yourself.
yeah, boundaries are important.
Thanks. I think so too. I'm trying to get better at that because I'm like a textbook people pleaser and it's hard for me to set boundaries. So that's something that I work on like all the time.
Nice.
Thanks. You're good at that. And you'll do it in like a
I used
nice
to not be
way.
though.
I know, but you do it in like a nice way. You don't fly off the handle or anything out of anger, but you'll just be like, "Hey, it's not okay if you do this. And if you do that, then we'll probably leave." And you'll just like set a boundary and stick to it. And I'm always like, "Wow, I never would have thought of that."
I thunked of that. So, like, yeah,
Oh
so
yeah, I want to talk about at what point hell's first mentioned in the Bible. And I looked up actually some verses because I think that's interesting that it's always presented as like Jesus comes and he's the nice one. But the first distinct fiery or punitive concept of hell is typically identified actually in the Gospels, which is the first four books of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it's often cited in Matthew 5:22, Matthew 5:29, or Matthew 5:28, where Jesus uses the term Gehenna, which is often translated as hell or hellfire. So it's actually Jesus who first brings up the concept of eternal punishment in Matthew.
Geet.
And the most, which I like, don't Revelation. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun read. And I did this experiment with somebody who grew up atheist and never read the Bible. I just handed them a Bible and was like, start reading Revelation. And that's a very fun thing to watch. But the most developed and intense description of hell as a lake of fire is found in Revelation 19:20. But all of Revelation's kind of like an acid trip.
Apocalyptic.
It is. It's
Uh,
wild.
I think, I mean, it's an actual genre of writing,
Oh,
apocalyptic
it is
writing.
that style. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a fun read. It's interesting.
Which who knew, but it was a pretty popular end times type with all that. Uh, what would you call like that?
That style.
Imagery.
Oh
All the
yeah.
like the imagery and stuff that was like a pretty popular
At the time that
type
that
of
was
writing.
written, is what you're saying, is that would not
Yeah.
have been a well. That's kind of like Jesus' resurrection. I think that's really interesting too. Is at that same time. That was kind of a thing. They didn't have TVs, guys, so like had to do something that. So
Why are you ruining everything for me? Are you gonna, if you tell me that Easter Bunny's not
I was
real,
just gonna
I
say,
am out of here.
But
Dude.
there were like Nero faked his own resurrection. There were a lot of at that time that was a pretty common thing, is that there'd be like people were faking deaths and resurrections. So if you look at it in that context, that's just I was never told that. That's just an interesting historical context, is
Yeah,
that there were a
I
lot
didn't
of
know that either.
fake resurrections that happened at that time.
Yeah. So like if anyone has any questions or anything, be sure to just put them into chat there, and it can be about anything. Of course, our topic is kind of tonight is on hell, which is
Hell,
probably something we'll talk about. That'll probably be a reoccurring topic, and but really anything. As a matter of fact,
it's a big. I mean, that's
e-
a big one.
speaking of the Easter Bunny, man, I had the worst dream as a child of the Easter
This
Bunny.
is wild. Yeah.
It scared me so bad. I can still.
Oh,
It was a giant. I went behind the couch at our house to get an egg. There's a giant Easter bunny. But the freaky part was he wasn't like a real bunny. It was like in a bunny costume, but he had it
that's
in it. So I
horrific.
knew it was a person, but it had like jagged teeth and stuff. I'm like,
Oh.
oh boy, I was. It freaked me
Oh,
out,
that's
man.
traumatic.
Well, I braved through
That's
it.
freaking
I
traumatic.
still ate my chocolate bunny that Easter.
I'm glad you made it through.
Thank you.
Nightmares. Didn't you have a dream about giant potatoes rolling down a hill chasing you? No, not you.
This is just make crap up time. Well,
I should know.
one
It's a mean
time.
thing to say.
Easter is probably a time of year, like if you're in that deconstruction, that's a very big time of
Yeah.
the year, Christianity wise. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm really, I don't have the desire to like talk anyone out of it or really even, because I mean, faith is pretty important to people.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to ruin someone's faith or something like that. We're really doing this in hopes that as we continue to build a community here, that it's more for encouraging people that are struggling in it and they're
Yeah.
already thinking this way.
And I know I like laugh and joke around a lot, and that's honestly my therapist has said a coping mechanism of mine. But I
Well,
hell to me, like I mean I have a deep seated terror of hell, like fear of hell. Big.
even still.
No, it's finally gotten better, but
Okay, I'm sorry. Do you
like
still?
not anymore, not so much, but I would have up until very recently recurring nightmares about I knew I was going to die. Usually it was a plane crash and it was going down, and in my dream I'd be going, Jesus, please take me to heaven, don't let me go to hell. And I think that
Wow.
that fear of hell kept me in it for longer than I would have, because I was afraid to even research any opposing thoughts, because I thought that that was blasphemy, or um I forget what the word is, but I was afraid to even look at opposing, because I thought, well, if I do that, then you're
You're
going
just
against
asking
God, and you're
for it, and
asking for yeah,
you're in big
and you're
trouble now.
yeah, yeah, and I that kept me in it a long time.
Which honestly, to me, that is so creepy. Like I way
Yeah,
much more appreciate when people said, "Yeah, just look at it because you read the Bible and study and stuff, you'll be convinced." Ah, it's cool when people start telling me, "Yeah, you shouldn't be thinking about those things or looking at those things." Like what? That's
yeah,
like that's creepy to me because if it's the most truest, purest, wonderful thing on the earth, what could there be that you don't want to look at or pull that thread
that's a yeah,
where
absolutely,
things might start to unravel? And I think that was the bigger concern is like, yeah, just you need to just accept, have faith, don't think about those things, they're
absolutely.
above your pay grade. And I mean, I'm definitely will be the first to admit I'm not a scholar, a genius by any stretch, but I don't think it's the things that became challenging for me. I don't think were that deep or hidden or anything. It was pretty
Like you
just
shouldn't kill
straightforward
babies. Yeah,
reading.
I'm
A
same.
lot of things are just straight up contradictions or prophecies that weren't. I was told were prophecies that weren't in the original context, and then I learned, when I went to Bible college about dual fulfillment and foreshadowing. But like, gosh, then it's like you can make any that really opens things up. Like that's Nostradamus level to where like I just saw on my Google headline the other day, like Nostradamus predictions coming true in 2026. Like this is, I forget
Oh
when
goodness.
this Nostradamus wrote all these things, but he made them general enough to where they'll always fit something, and
It's like a
that's
horoscope,
just the
yeah.
way that goes. And it's like I thought it was going to be just so clear cut, crystal clear from the Old Testament that this Messiah was Jesus was predicted. I was shocked to learn he's not even in there,
Yeah.
and then to understand just what they were looking for as opposed. I remember I was always told like, oh, the Jewish people didn't see it. It was right there in front of them. Yeah, it's because God had been telling them if there is a God through the Old Testament that it was going to be something completely different.
Like a literal king who ruled
like
over Israel, right?
yeah, someone that would die and be crucified and raise again. That was not on the docket. And a couple. That's why I think like Isaiah 50 uh 3, Isaiah chapter 53 is probably like the strongest argument that people have for that. But it's clear. It's like the suffering servant is the nation of Israel. It's mentioned like in that section of Isaiah, Deutero Isaiah, Second Isaiah, like 10 times prior to that description in verse 53. And in my the thing to me is like, even if that's even if someone knew that, like if that was just presented to me and said like, hey, scholars really think this is something different and it wasn't talking about that, but as faith, we believe it is. If it had been presented to me, like I could say, okay, now I've got a decision to make. Do I want to, is that something I can have faith in and I can make a decision? But when I was told it was something else and then find out it's something different, or people who like commit their lives to studying this think it's something different, that raised some real red flags. Like, are these people really all in cahoots? Are they really, did the devil get in their minds and trick them to get their PhDs so they could learn a whole new, Hebrew language and history and everything just to give us bad information? Like, yeah, those are the kind of
Well,
things that were challenging to me.
it is. Well, in the Bible was originally written in Hebrew, and so I think that that's a funny thing, especially KJV, especially tones it down so much and went in and just completely like rewrote a lot of stuff to make it sound like God was less horrific, especially in the Old Testament. And KJV is what frequently translated Sheol or Hades to hell. And
Yeah.
it's just not they weren't even the same thing.
Yeah. I
So
mean, that's,
that's what's kind of freaky is that you're told like, oh, dig in and it'll become clear to you and you'll find out. But then once you dig in and things start to become clear, then the comment or the answer is, well, you just need to have more faith. Or
did you know like King James was actually like a really good translation at their time at the time,
no, I didn't know that.
because it's like 1600 something, and they wrote in the preface, in the preface. It's probably preface, not preface.
I like preface, whatever.
Like the beginning of a book when you
Original.
open it, it
Yeah,
has that word preface. I bet it's a
yeah.
preface. They actually said themselves like, this is not, new translations will come after this. This is not in the actual preface that was in all King James Bibles. Now, at some point, they'd start taking that out of some of them, but there's still many out there that you can find a King James Bible that the people who put that together themselves said this new more interpretations will come as new information is found.
I
They
didn't
didn't
know
even,
that.
yeah, like this whole thing is really weird how that became, but
Kind of like the standard or
there were a
something.
couple key points in there, and I remember when I was first a Christian, I was told New International Version (NIV), which was the newer version that everybody was using. I got a study Bible that had study notes in it, and they were very apologetic driven. They were very study Bible is, there would be notes down there by the editors or the scholars who put that in there, and they would be, oftentimes they would really slant, even the notes themselves would slant towards Christianity, and it was done intentionally to market to,
Sure.
it was a Bible being sold to Christians.
Well, and if you think about that, then like, yeah, hell is a really big selling point. It
Yeah.
really is. So no wonder that got changed in the King James and in the NIV. They're like, well, if everyone dies and goes to this gloomy underworld, that kind of stinks, but it's not as bad as being burned alive for eternity. That's a great sticking point.
Yeah.
That is literally what kept me. And when my friend wanted to show me some counter evidence, because I was not really living like a Christian. Like I've never been but I was living with a boyfriend and stuff. And so I wasn't following everything like in the Bible to the letter, you know. And
Wait, you were living with a boyfriend?
oh,
Oh, so you were a real Christian?
I, no, I
It,
was like, I would say
you
it
were like,
so
dude, if you
that,
can't like,
well,
that's a whole
what are
nother
they?
thing.
You wouldn't buy a car without test driving, right?
Oh boy.
But how do you know if you get along with somebody if you
Oh
live with
boy.
them unless you live with them?
True.
So to me, like that made logical sense. And I thought, well, I've had two divorces and those didn't work out, and I kind of did them the Christian way, more or less. So like, let's try it
Well,
the heathen way.
the guy who taught who wrote Kiss Dating Goodbye, which is what we as good faithful fundamentalists taught you and had you that purity and all that stuff, he deconstructed.
I know, which is I think he has a lot of guilt and stuff. And to him, I'd be
Yeah.
like, dude, we all bought in.
And
That's
we
what people were telling us.
it's what
So
it said.
it's what it said. Yeah,
And you can make that thing say whatever you want. Like, but
absolutely.
I do agree. Just think, let's finish up like with, because we got about 10 more minutes. What do you think, like, what would it be like? What do you think that original Old Testament underworld was like? Do you think it was like
Oh
a smelly locker room?
no, I have a very
Like
vivid
it
image.
smells like socks.
I don't know. I don't. No, I think
Well, we,
sulfur. I picture it like, have you ever seen, started watching the anime Death Note, right?
yeah.
Where they write down people's names in a special
Oh,
note.
and they're all down
The
there playing like
Shinigami, like,
cards.
yeah, that's what I picture Sheol looked like.
Oh wow, Death Note's really good.
That is a phenomenal anime.
I always
Yeah,
think of it
it's one of
like
my
the
favorites.
yeah, that was really good.
It was.
I think of it like Hercules.
He ruled the underworld.
And there's all those crazy like monsters. It's pretty gloomy
Yes,
down
the
there.
Titans.
And when
These feathers won't cut the fates.
the fates, they would cut
Yeah.
your like life thread or something, you'd fall
Because
down.
of Hercules, when I played a Greek, Mike would know, it was a Greek board game. I actually knew because of that Disney movie a bunch of answers to questions about Greek gods and stuff.
Dude,
The Fates was one of them.
I love that movie.
It's a phenomenal Disney movie.
Like when they
That's one of my
start and they're
favorites.
singing that song and they're like bouncing down the
Yes.
writing on the vase.
Oh, it's super cool, very stylized.
So, what else do you have in closing?
Well, if anybody here is here that thinks that if there's like a topic or something that you would like us to talk about in upcoming live streams, feel free to throw it in the chat. I think that at some point we're probably going to talk about purity culture because that's an interesting one.
I know about impurity culture. I wasn't raised as like a Christian. I was raised Catholic, which I do believe are Christians also. But
yeah,
it was a big thing. I remember.
I saw like for purity culture, I think, as a topic.
Wait,
but no, I don't know. I
how,
keep seeing smiley faces float up. I think that means people are liking it. That might have been a like for impurity culture.
Thank you, Mr. Stone, for degrading the conversation.
Yeah.
God, was I ever really
funny.
gonna make it?
I know. Well, I think that's the thing. It's like we're the same people that we were before. I think for me, since deconstructing, it's not like I've run off and done anything insane. I'm not like a devil worshiper. I literally used to think if people are atheists, they probably worship the devil. We don't think there is a devil, so we're certainly not worshiping him. But it hasn't made me like crazy or like we're doing all kinds of drugs or orgies or anything like that. It's more like
ooh, brother, ooh.
Brother, ooh.
Oh, I've been saving that. That's like timing. That's like really old.
I didn't hear about it till you brought it up, and then
it's like, so I think that's like years ago.
Well, we're late to the party. We're late to the deconstructing party too. Brother, that's okay. But I think I lost my train. That was another rabbit hole.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
no, no, that's
Oh my
okay.
gosh,
It
I'm
was
sorry.
no,
I
it's
like threw you
okay.
completely off. Oh, I think you were talking about.
Oh, no more. Oh, the only thing that's different, I think, about me since deconstructing is just like a sense of like peace and freedom, and that I don't have to be judgmental of people. And when I meet new people, I don't have to immediately assess them as like, are these sheep or goats, like saved or unsaved? Somebody that I have
Hmm.
to try and win over for the Lord because that's like my Christian prerogative. And tying that back to hell, that was such a big thing that if I met somebody that wasn't saved, I thought, well, it's kind of my job to witness to them because if not, eternal torture kind of sucks. If I don't and they go to hell for eternity and that's on me, that sucks. But then it's also weird. Like in a cultural context, it just would feel uncomfortable and unnatural. And since I never felt it 100%, I'm like, how can I try to talk somebody into something that
Yeah, it's
I
real.
never 100% even felt for myself?
Yeah, and I did, and it was still hard for me, like, because
Yeah.
it's like, man, I'm really talking about some very eh, personal stuff here, and it's like I did all this. When we were doing evangelism at the church I first got saved at, and they had an evangelist come
Oh,
in. I
yeah.
forget, it was something like, oh, you probably shouldn't say his name, but he was a big. This was a big deal. This famous evangelist was coming to our church, and so they would do the Sunday morning service. He taught that, and yes, we went 3 times to church 3 times a week. So Sunday night you go back and teaches you more. You could buy a book that taught you how to evangelize, and the pamphlet we used is "Where would you go if you died today?"
Yep.
And it was this black pamphlet, and that was
Yep.
the whole point of it. Like, if you die today, you're going to hell without Jesus. That was the whole thing. We're
That's
gonna.
quite an opener.
So the big deal was is we got trained on that Sunday night, and then the next Wednesday we broke up into teams, and we were using old visitor guest lists of people that had come to our church but had never come back, and we went to their
Oh,
houses
no.
cold. Like, we just showed
No.
up, but we had cookies we brought.
No.
It
You
was
brought them don't go to hell cookies?
it was so bad. So the ploy was
Jesus.
show up unannounced with a bag
No.
of cookies. Hey, we're strangers, and we're groups of 3, so it's like we're 3 strangers with cookies. Can we come in your house? So okay, now
Oh, God. I would have let you in
the
if you came
part
with
that blew
cookies.
me away is that we got into several people's house.
It was.
Wait, two important things. There was People were so scared, like they were such committed Christians and everything, believed all this,
Mm.
but when it came to telling other people about it, there was someone in the men's bathroom. I went in there like to check my hair, I still had some, and there was someone puking because they were so
Oh.
afraid. Like, people were terrified to do this. I'm more
Well,
outgoing,
yeah.
so I was nervous, but I'm like, I can do this. So we got inside this people's house, and now we're sitting there with these 2 old elderly ladies, and there's the 3 of us. And so here's why we brought the cookies. If you were to die today, what would happen? And we did go through the whole
Oh
track with
my
them.
God.
We
That is so funny. Did they convert?
They did not.
Okay,
But
well.
they were very nice people, and it was
Oh.
in a part of Ohio that people very nice, and I don't know if they would
Midwesty.
been a they wouldn't have told you they were offended if they were, but
Now, was it like if they converted, then you left the cookies with them, but if they didn't, you took the cookies, or would
they
they get
got the
them no matter
cookies
what?
either way.
Okay, all right.
So it was pretty fair deal. Me and then Mom and I invited her best friend at work to lunch, and I'll never forget. And that was the whole reason, is we're going to go through this pamphlet, and I was so scared because I'm like, okay, now this isn't a stranger.
It's like a
we
real
we
like.
actually. So we met her and we went through it, and much to our surprise, she said, "Okay, that makes sense."
Oh no.
We're like,
No.
it works.
It worked.
And she was already,
Oh my
I think
goodness.
they were Catholic, so it was,
Oh,
uh,
that's an easy switch. That's like going from a Honda to
it
a
re-
Toyota or something. It is.
so they remained that, and
Okay.
but that was my experience with
Like witnessing.
witnessing with that tract, and I think that was the time I learned, like, dude, like, threatening people with hell is not the way for me to go with this whole thing. Like
No,
that was all we
so
had to
uncomfortable.
offer them. Like you are doomed to going to hell. Like you, and some of these people didn't even know until we show up and told them, and then they're all like, "Oh
Oh,
crap." Well, thanks for bringing the cookies, but
you're
thanks
doomed.
for laying that heavy rap on me. Like what? I'm born with what?
Maybe we could talk about original sin next week because I think I didn't realize that like a lot of my deep core feelings of inadequacy and guilt all the time and stuff I think probably stem from the concept of learning that
Yeah,
you're born so horrific that you literally deserve to be dead and tortured for eternity or like
yeah, that's like brutal.
yeah, so that would make a person think that they're not great. And
Absolutely.
Brian says purity culture would be a great one. I know. I
Let's
think so
do it.
too. Okay.
Let's
I
do it.
think so too.
When it comes to original sin, I would think of original sins all the time. I was really good at it.
That's like my freaking wheelhouse. Yeah.
I couldn't resist. Well, let's do it. Let's plan on purity culture.
Ooh, that'll be
You're
fun.
going to have to lead this one
Okay, I
because
got
I
you.
was never pure in my
Closer,
life.
post stress, instant follow. Can't wait to see what else you all shared. Thank you, Jay Kent. Thank you so much. Thanks for being
Yeah,
in
that's so
here.
cool.
It's
Good
so
to see
awesome to
you.
have you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you saw the post too. And it sounds like next week at 5 on Wednesday we'll be doing purity culture. So
And we post these too if you missed it and want to check it out
I was
later.
gonna
Like
say
I love listening to podcasts when I'm or live streams when I'm working. I should be working,
I do
but
too.
I just love having them on the background and
I think ours is
listen to
so casual
conversations.
too. I could see it like you could have it on the background while you're cleaning or something. I
Go
do.
on your way to witness to somebody.
Yeah, there you
Give you
go
a
with
little
your
give you
cookies.
a little mojo.
So next week at 5 on Wednesday, we'll do purity culture. Bring your chastity belts, guys, and we will.
Well, not guys. They
Yeah,
don't wear.
yeah, yeah.
Wait, the way this could. Oh boy, that'll be fun. I hope they're.
This will derail. We'll keep. We'll try to make it at least fun. Thank you guys all so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you so
being
much for
here.
being here.
Absolutely loved having you. And remember, you're not alone. We love you. We're glad you're here with us, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.
Hell could.